Hey, I'm Alex, and I help companies outsource on Upwork and Fiverr, saving them thousands of dollars a year. And I've got this crazy idea. I think that startups are going to just start hiring essentially contractors. I don't think companies are still going to hire so many W-2 people, especially because contractors are so much cheaper. So when I say contractors, I'm specifically talking about people on Upwork and Fiverr. When you hire someone on Upwork or Fiverr, you get them as needed. You don't have them for a long period of time. So that means that you can save so much more money by not having to pay for work you don't need. For instance, if you hire a graphic designer to do a bunch of stuff on your Instagram and maybe some flyers for a conference that's coming up, post-COVID, not now, then after all of that work is done, they're not gonna have any more work. So they might be twiddling their thumbs for a couple of weeks until you can come up with some more work for them to do. But you're paying them full time the entire time that they're waiting there. The nice thing about having somebody on Upwork or Fiverr is you only pay them as needed. So you have like a super huge project that's gonna last like 3 months. Great, they work for 3 months full time, and then at the end of those 3 months, like they're done. You can give them work on hourly to help with any flyers or any updates or whatever they need, but you don't have to pay them 40 hours a week with payroll, with benefits, because they're not going to be doing anything. They're going to be sitting there waiting for work or working with another client or working on another income source. So that's the beauty of working with these kind of people on Upwork and Fiverr. They're only as needed. As opposed to, on the other side, if you have a W-2 employee who's twiddling their thumbs, but also the W-2 employee is not an expert. Like the W-2 employee is going to be really good at one thing probably. So if you hire an app designer, they're going to be able to make apps, they're going to make websites, they're going to make that kind of stuff. But then you need a graphic designer, or you need someone who's really good at Photoshop, or you need a video editor. You need all these other sub-disciplines that your designer could probably figure out, but they're not going to be that good. So instead of having somebody ramp up over the course of months, say maybe it takes them 2 months to get decent at like graphic design and flyer design and print design and this whole other part of design that they've never really touched before. If it takes them 2 months, then you've just lost 2 months of time that they could have been working on something else. Or you could have just hired somebody on Upwork who's a graphic designer who does this for a living and this is their full-time job or full-time profession as a graphic designer. And instead of having your person spend 2 months, learn all this stuff and still may not be that good, you have somebody who you can hire and get essentially like you can hire and then learn your brand aesthetic and start working within probably 2 weeks. So that means you go from 0 to products being produced in 2 weeks versus 0 to something kind of mediocre in 2 months. That's the beauty of Upwork. You get the expert, you use your generalist designer or app designer, whoever you have on staff, to kind of monitor their progress because they kind of know the field, but they're not necessarily a specialist in this one part. So they can help manage this person, but they don't necessarily have to be as good as this person, which also gives you a lot more flexibility and freedom, especially if you're a smaller startup with like 5 to 10 people, you don't have too much funding, or you're bootstrapping it. By using these people on Upwork and Fiverr who have multiple clients, who have multiple gigs, who can be hired as needed and then their workload reduced as needed, you can save a lot of money and you can go in different paths. You can do these test projects. Like say you want to add a video chat to the app that you're making, or a video chat to your website. You might not have the developers who can support that, or your developers are working on your core product. And this is outside of the core, but it might be an interesting experiment. You can find someone on Upwork to produce this, have one of your developers spend like 2-3 hours a week kind of managing, making sure that they're doing okay. And then your developers are focused on the core product, if it's a SaaS product, and focusing on the software, the website, the app, whatever it is. And meanwhile, spending 2 to 3 hours helping produce a whole nother test. And that test could be a video player and something that your engineers don't know anything about. So the beauty of this is that you can run a bunch of different experiments relatively quickly, relatively cheaply, while still retaining your core talent to just manage these folks, as opposed to trying to build and do the work that these folks are doing. And these folks are experts at. So while they might be cheaper, just depending on where they're located in the world, they're also experts, so they're gonna be faster. They're gonna be faster than you paying a W-2 employee 40 hours a week, regardless of how much work they have, to learn something that they don't know and to ramp up on that. So you have the opportunity costs and you have the actual fixed costs of that person's salary and benefits. So call me crazy, but I think that the W-2 is going to go the way of the pension. I think that instead of having like 100 W-2 employees, I think a lot of these companies are going to have like 10 to 20 W-2 employees and then managing a whole army of consultants. You're already seeing this in some companies like Gumroad. Gumroad went through a whole restructuring a couple of years ago, and now I think it's the one founder, and he's got like a bunch of contractors helping him with marketing, with development, and all sorts of different things that he needs, but they're only as needed. That's the beauty of Upwork and Fiverr and all these freelancing platforms. You can hire people as needed and build a whole business around that. Once you've proved that business, you can always get W-2 people, or you can continue with that track and kind of have a revolving door of super talented folks that you can retain for long periods of time. Like a lot of the folks that I've worked with, the designers, the engineers, I've worked with them for years now. I'm actually hiring a game developer that I worked with on a HoloLens app like 4 years ago. I'm hiring him for a new product. So this is like a whole repository of people that you can go back to as you build your company again and again and again, as you have different projects that meet their skill sets and you've worked with them. You know how they work, you know what's good about them. Hopefully you'll like them. And so it reduces the time to actually hire these folks. So super kind of interesting idea, and something that I've been actually doing and implementing with startups for quite a few years now. But I think it's something that's really going to be mainstream pretty soon. So thanks so much. Let me know if there's any comments, questions. If you have any ideas for videos or questions that you want to ask me, feel free to ask, and I'll go ahead and drop a video that explains the answer to your question. Thanks so much. Like it if you like it. Subscribe to learn more. Bye.